Hi friends, today we're doing Unit 10, Lesson 8, the Pilgrims Part 2 of Thanksgiving Celebration. We only have one new vocabulary word we'll be hearing today, and that word is optimistic, which means positive, expecting the good rather than the bad, believing that things will turn out well. We're now going to move into today's reading, which is relatively short today. Based on information provided to them by the exploratory party, the Pilgrims and others did not settle the area that became known as Provincetown. Instead, they sailed farther to a rocky harbor area they named Plymouth, which was fitting because the group had first departed England from the port of Plymouth. Some historians have recorded that the passengers on board the Mayflower took their first steps in North America when they alighted onto a large granite boulder on the shoreline. This boulder is now known as Plymouth Rock. Though some believe the story of the Pilgrims landing on the specific rock, it may be a legend. What we do know is that the date was December 21st, 1620. The Pilgrims had arrived in North America. Sadly, the settlers were not prepared for how bitterly cold the winters could be in New England. In addition, the journey had been so terrible that many settlers were sick. Without warm clothing and shelter, and with very little food, one by one the settlers began to die. Almost half of them died during that first winter. Spring could not come quickly enough. When it did arrive, the settlers got to work experimenting with planting seeds for crops and building homes. One day, a Native American named Samoset appeared in the colony. Surprisingly, Samoset spoke English. Samoset told the settlers about a Native American named Tisquantum, also called Squanto, who not only spoke English but had been to England and Spain. It was clear to Samoset that the English settlers needed help, and he went to get it. Before long, Squanto arrived with the Wampanoag chief, Massasoit. It appears the settlers had arrived in an area inhabited by the Wampanoag. Squanto was not actually a Wampanoag, but he joined the tribe when the people of his own tribe had died from diseases brought to North America by explorers and traders. Squanto believed the Wampanoag could travel with the settlers. He advised Chief Massasoit to make peace with them. It is believed that Squanto showed the settlers how to grow crops such as corn, squash, and beans in the New England soil. Squanto also showed the settlers where to hunt and fish and which local plants were good to eat. As their crops grew in the warm New England sunshine, and the men hunted and fished in the woods and rivers, the settlers became more optimistic. And so, when the first fall came, the settlers had enough food to see them safely through the next winter. They were very grateful. They were grateful to God, and they were grateful to the Wampanoag. It was time to hold a celebration of Thanksgiving. One of the settlers wrote that Chief Massasoit came to the Thanksgiving celebration with 90 Wampanoag men. The occasion lasted for several days as the settlers and their guests feasted on deer, duck, lobster, fish, cornbread, pumpkin, squash, and berries. They hunted, played games, and ran races. This celebration of the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag is often called the First Thanksgiving. The friendship and relative peace between the Wampanoag and the settlers lasted for many years, even decades after Squanto's death. Eventually, however, as more and more new settlers poured onto this area of North America, the friendly relations broke down. But for now, in this part of our story, this new land and new life with religious freedom were very much what the Pilgrims had hoped for. You may now move on to Unit 10, Lesson 8, Google Form.